Welcome everybody to this week's edition of Valpo Football Preview, brought to you by the South Shore Convention and Visitors Authority. Along with head coach Dave Cecchini, this is Todd Ickow. Crusaders getting set to welcome Marist in. We take a look back first at what was kind of a long few days.
It was.
Probably had to be one of the strangest travel situations you've ever been involved in, I assume.
It was crazy. You know, we got to Midway Airport expecting to take off in a couple of hours and go through security, and we found that we basically had no chance of flying out on a Friday. And first we had to convince the bus company that took us to Midway to take us back to Valpo because they weren't supposed to do that. And once we talked them into that, it turned into about a 3-hour mad scramble to try to find an alternate means to get to North Carolina, and we were very fortunate to find a charter company who basically on 2-3 hours notice dropped everything and came out to South Bend Airport and picked us up, and without their help we would not have been able to play the game.
It was a long day Friday, but I know you're not going to make any excuses for what took place on Saturday because you were very much in the football game at Campbell, went up and down the field, and the game basically came down to a few plays in the red zone in the fourth quarter for you guys.
Right, absolutely. I think statistically we dominated the game. I really felt like our kids hung in there and played and got the better of them most of the game, but it came down to the final 4 possessions, which for us were 2 interceptions and 2 missed field goals, and that was really the difference in the game.
Yeah, 2 interceptions right at the end zone.
Exactly.
Big, huge swings, obviously. You had a 14-point turnaround on the one
Right.
play, the interception, which play later they scored.
Yeah.
And that, football's like that sometimes.
Yep.
And, the week before, William Julie guys did a great job in the red zone, both scoring and holding them, and it was kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, it's all growing pains. Ben Lehman did a great job at quarterback, had a great game. But there's just a couple of signs. The first interception that he threw down right around the goal line was probably play. It's a great example of he's just not comfortable. We probably shouldn't have called that play, and I put that on us as coaches. He was having such a great game, and sometimes you get a little over-eager, and you got a play call that you feel is really good versus that defense. But it's something that he just, that particular call down on the 7-yard line, it's just something that he just really wasn't comfortable with, and he made a bad read. But that's really on us as coaches. We kind of asked him to do a little too much, and outside of those 2 or 3 bad decisions that he had, he played an outstanding game. And
threw for over 300 yards. And that's kind of good going into Marist because they're going to be very difficult to run against.
Absolutely.
Right?
I mean, this is a veteran defense. 9 of their 11 starters are seniors, which is phenomenal. They've got statistically one of the best defenses in the country right now. They're 0-5. They're certainly struggling as a team, but their defense is on paper the best that will have gone up against this year.
And they held San Diego to 20 points, which is a high-powered offense. So,
Right.
They're putting up good defensive numbers, and they played a pretty tough schedule. That's why,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And they had San Diego on the ropes. They were ahead until the final play of the game. It took a desperation pass with 5 seconds to go for San Diego to win the game. So they're in a lot of games. They've just had some struggles on offense. They've graduated some good players, and they're struggling to find a rhythm right now. And all the games that they've been in have been relatively low-scoring affairs. They're giving up only about 20 points a game, but they're only scoring 6 or 7 a game. So it's been kind of not typical of today's college football scores, where you see most of the scores are in the 30s and in the high 20s, and it's not the case for them.
I think a great test for your offensive line, which played really well this past week. You continue to protect the quarterback extremely well. Talk about what the offensive line will face against Marist.
Well, you're going to see a lot of blitzing from them. Demetrius Williams is a great defensive end for them. He's an explosive player, does a great job in the run game and the pass game. So he's certainly a concern. But Marist just does, they've got such a veteran group of guys. They run a blitz package and they disguise things very well. Again, they're another style of defense that's just very aggressive with their blitz calls, and they're going to bring a different style of blitz every single play, and that's what really we're going to have our hands cut out for us. It's going to be a game where we have to do a great job of recognizing the blitz, picking it up in the pass game, assignment-wise, blocking the blitzers in the run game. And if we can do that, we can have some success. But they're so talented behind that defensive front that you've got a good group, solid core of linebackers that are back and a great group in the secondary, that they've done a great job of limiting those big plays when teams are able to break through defensive line. They find it tough going, and it's hard. You'll see on film if they're giving up a play, for them it's going to be a 6 or 7 or 8 yard gain, where against most defenses it's going to be 16, 17, 18 yard gain.
So maybe keep grinding it out if you can, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And our defense has to step up and play their best game of the year. In games like this, when you're playing against teams that their offense is struggling to find some rhythm, your defense has to step up and get us some turnovers and keep them out of the end zone as well.
Back-to-back tight games. Figures to be another one on Saturday.
Absolutely.
Good luck, Coach.
Great, thank you.
For head coach Dave Cecchini, this is Todd Ickow. Thanks for joining us this week on Valpo Football Preview, brought to you by the South Shore Convention and Visitors Authority.